Broadcasting live on the Double Wide Network. It's time for The Real Deal. Join the Ambassador and Danny Q as they put together great guests and honest commentary on a range of issues. But one of their main topics will be preserving Native American tributes in sports team nicknames. These two are also avid fans of music and the arts, and they'll always make time for a great song or two. Now, it's time for The Real Deal. And here are your hosts, the Ambassador and Danny Q.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Real Deal on the Double Wide Network in beautiful downtown Scottsdale, Arizona. I hope everybody's doing well. We are as well, and we're glad to be back. We're still on the air, so if share it, and if you really, really like it, consider being a sponsor because we're not billionaires, and the opposition is. But I do want to say thank you to all the listeners from literally all over the country and even internationally now. This show is just going viral because of you.
We're going coast to coast.
Yeah, and I've gotten emails from some of our listeners down in Costa Rica, Honduras, Hawaii, Canada, and it's all good. And even Alan and his group in the UK. So I'd like to just say a special thank you and keep it up, and we're going to stay here as long as I can afford to stay on the air. How you doing, Danny?
Well, I'm doing well, Ambassador. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, and we got our number one key announcer with us, Mark the Beast Beasley, Yellow Horse. How you doing, Marky?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
We see you've come with an Indian.
I like that.
I can't get enough of Harjo on that one.
Yeah, that's that idiot Susan Harjo when Dan was down at the Herd Museum with
Chris Beck.
With Chris Beck.
Yeah.
She says some stupid remark because she's a total idiot. But anyway, we got a good show lined up tonight. We got a gentleman from Wilmington, Delaware.
That's right.
That's going to be on, and he's going to talk about the name changers coming to Wilmington, Delaware, and doing the same thing they did in Lancaster. And then I think we're also going to have the lady from Lancaster on again.
Our good friend Brenda
yeah,
Christopher.
Brenda. Yes, Brenda.
Who's running for school board up there, and let this be a lesson to them name changers.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get them changed back, and this is going to be the first one is Lancaster. And then we're going to go fight like hell for Buffalo. And then there's a gentleman in California that reached out to us, Dan. And what was the name of that town?
That is Crockett, California.
Crockett, where is that?
That's it's near Oakland.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and that school recently went through the same deal that Lancaster did with their in Crockett. It's the John Swett Indians, and of course they took that tribute away.
Did they really?
I believe so. We're going to talk to him next week, and we'll get an update on where they're at. I don't think they're down and out, and he's kind of rallying the troops. You know how it is in these places. It takes, first only one person will speak up because people throw up their hands when they're called racists. I always say it's easier to be a racist for these racist fools than it is to be called one.
Yeah. Well, this show's for you and for all the people that are, and I don't care what nationality you are, but this show's for you, and we're going to keep it going, and we're going to get these schools changed back. It may take one at a time, and it may take a while, but we're going to spread the truth, and once the truth gets out, they're going to know that this is nothing but a damn scam, and it's ridiculous, and this idiot Ray Halbretter, who's a phony, fake Indian that owns this casino up in New York. He is a billionaire, and he owns smoke shops and he owns cigarette shops, and he does all this stuff.
Yeah, that's Ray Payday Halbritter.
Yeah, that's him. Show me the money.
All about those dollar signs.
And what's
That's
funny
right.
here, I was just looking on Twitter. There's this handle at Not Your Mascots, and it said, "When non-native businesses pop up to fight against native orgs and our causes, we witness an age-old tradition of intimidation of our people." And this is coming. I know the admin of that account is either like Keeler or Black Horse, one of these,
Idiots.
that actually chase families down with children and call them backstabbers and traitors
Right.
and
Sellouts.
sellouts. Ugh.
Yeah, Mark was
disgusting.
there.
Your sister,
And they try to discourage you, and hey, just keep the thick skin going and stuff, and
They
keep
even
the
went-
positive
yeah,
vibes.
They went after
We're
all of
Redskins
us,
forever.
and they went after Megan Yellow Horse. And when you go after people that are special to me, that's where I draw the goddamn line.
Yeah.
And
They're
I'll-
overstepping the
kids.
boundaries.
and kids, it's one thing to have these, I wouldn't call it a political discussion because it's a scam, but let's keep the kids out of it, and
Exactly.
they do the same thing. They go to these high schools like Lancaster, and they're calling the kids racists, and over
They
what
try
will-
to brainwash them completely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. I think in Wilmington is you see these like kids and they're spitting out the same language. That they're
Exactly. Quote for quote.
that somebody's in there and that
Right,
Right. But and then it was like anyway, the next tweet from that same handle is sadly non-NA businesses that's Native American like the real deal on SW. Open because we stay silent. Indian country. We all need to get vocal about our issues. Very ironic. For one thing, we're not a business. They are. They're run by a billionaire.
Right.
And the other thing is that that's why we've come out here is because it's not that Native Americans don't support these names. It's that they don't play this game, this bully intimidation game that these phonies play.
right.
These are good, respectful people who welcome, a difference of opinion, and they don't have to attack and just crush everything. And it's sad to me. It's they call us colonists a lot of times, and I have no problem with that. Sure, that's what our heritage is, unfortunately, but they're using the same politics, the same things that you see these like real Tea Party type radicals using, and some of the super left wing. I won't leave my side out of it either, but it's really that kind of white guy's way of dealing with things, and that's kind of why you and I, Ambassador, got involved in this. Is well, if they're going to play that game, why get good people? I mean, Mark the Beast, he can take it, but why make the good people and get involved? I mean, we do need them to stand up, and we need them to just give their opinion. But you see Mark Beasley in here, and he just says it. He doesn't go after and insult people. Chris Beck, he's even a more civilized guy. He just says what he.
We're actually raised right, so to speak. I don't know how they come and try to attack us with all this. I respect them fully. I'll hear them out, but either way, at the end of the day, they try to discourage me and put me down into the ground. And hey, I get back up. I'm still running.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've been.
Well, that's kind of the story of the Native experience, isn't it?
Exactly. It we always get let's just say banished or how would you say just completely in a submission, and then we come back up. We arise again and stay strong.
Right. Well, that's what we're going to do, and you're my nephew, and I love you very much, and we're going to just keep on going.
Oh yeah.
I forgot to say.
I love you too, Beast.
I
love you guys.
I forgot to say hi to Kyle. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing good. I'm just sitting back listening.
Okay. You enjoying the show?
Yeah, it's good.
This has got to be one of the most interesting shows here, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and there's our loyal fans.
Yeah, there's our fans.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Sit down, please. Anyway, man, we're a little slap happy today, huh?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So, just getting off the whole name change scam thing for a minute. We had a 5-year anniversary of the BP oil spill.
Right.
And you actually have some special experience in this event. And
I do.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to. About, I guess 10 years ago, I teamed up with the University of Oklahoma in Norman, and they received some money from the EPA to do an environmental study on cleaning up oil spills. And they wanted to use my product, the Humate, HUMATE.com, that I produce up at Navajo in Gallup, New Mexico. And we did. We teamed up, and we got it down there to them, and they went out and cleaned up oil spills in Oklahoma and Texas, and was very successful. And we did it organically. So we stayed in touch, and we worked together on a few different things. And 5 years ago, when the BP oil spill hit the Gulf, they reached out to me, and I reached out to them and suggested that we collaborate together and put together a proposal and send it up to Washington, D.C., which we did. And there was over 300,000 proposals submitted to BP, the EPA, the White House, the Senate, the Congress, and there was only 2 of us called to testify, myself and Kevin Costner.
Feel the Dreams, Kevin Costner?
Yeah, and him and his brother had a machine that would separate oil from water, and it worked out in the ocean. My product works on the beaches, or when the tar and the oil washes up on the beaches, and you can effectively use it to clean it up. So we did, and so they called me up one day and said, we read your proposal. And I said, well, that's pretty interesting, because you submit these things and then you never hear back from anybody. You don't know what the hell happened. So they said, we read your proposal, we like it. And they says, would you be willing to come to Washington, D.C.? And I said, sure. So 5 years ago, I went up to Washington, D.C. with the University of Oklahoma and testified in front of the U.S. Senate. And it was pretty cool. I never done anything like that before. And I'm sitting in this big Senate chambers, and all these senators are in there, and they're all looking at me. And the Coast Guard was in there. And these Coast Guard guys come in. It looked like an army come walking in, because like the general or the commander or whatever his name is, or whatever his title is, he comes walking in. And he's got all the staff, and there must be about 20 of these guys. And they all sit down in the room, and I'm sitting there with Dr. Nanny and the University of Oklahoma. And so they put me right up there on the panel, and I testified. And then Senator Udall from New Mexico, Tom Udall, whom I know because of my affiliation at Navajo, he was on the panel, and it was and he started questioning me, and he read up on all my stuff, and it was very good, very open, and it was. I think I forget the name of it. Was it Innovative Ideas? Turning ideas into action. I think that was the name of why we were there. And my proposal was called the Organic Solution. And what I was telling these folks is, look, we can clean this up organically, and we don't have to use any chemicals or anything to do this. And it went really well, and that was quite an honor for me, and I got an award. Oh, and then after that, I was nominated for Earth Day, which I think is today, isn't it? Yeah. Is it? Yeah, because I seen it on one of the websites.
I know 420 was a couple days ago, but
yeah. So Earth Day honored me, and I went to the United Nations and received an honor with there's about 7 of us. Kevin Costner, all of us was there, and it was quite an honor. And I got I did that at the United Nations on Earth Day, and that was later on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And so that was pretty cool, and it went really well, and that was a big moment in my life that I'll never forget. And I got all the plaques and all the stuff in my office, and I have them framed, and it was nice. I enjoyed that.
You know, I met you kind of soon after all that.
Was it?
Yeah, it was just after that, because that's what, you know, I wrote a story about Humate and what you were doing with it.
That was the nuclear thing, wasn't it?
Well,
or it was everything.
It was everything. You know, we were just talking about all the stuff, and it really disappointed me that they never took you up, because, you know, with the organic solution, there would have been none of these slime balls that they had to put in bags and haul off to another place and pollute that area. Yeah, and that was just crazy.
Yeah. I was telling them they showed people walking up and down the beaches picking up these tar balls of oil and putting them in plastic bags and taking them to a landfill. And I says, "What? Now stop and think about that." And I says, "You're just making one problem worse, and then you're going to have a landfill full of oil balls that's you're going to have to deal with, you know, years down the road." And what I suggested to him was, get an area like the size of a couple football fields, and we'll put my material on there, and then put the tar balls or the oil balls or whatever you got there on the field, and it'll organically break down the hydrocarbons naturally over time, and that was the what we were trying to talk about. So. Anyway, we were out there, though, and there's a lot of people that's contacted us and want to know more about the technology. And anybody that's listening around the world, if you want to know more about it, please go to humate.com. Dan redid the website, and you'll see, I think, an area under environmental engineering.
Yeah, of course, Google just came out with this new algorithm about being mobile-friendly, and so now I got to do something there. We'll find out what that is. I'm kind of one of those learn as I go guys. I was never.
Yeah, well, you'll pick it up.
We always figured it out before.
Yeah.
But
did you know I did that, Mark?
No, not at all. I actually researched it a little bit, and they actually seen your testimony and stuff.
It's on YouTube. It's also posted on humate.com under our like a recognitions page.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and just Google Dennis Yellowhorse Jones, you'll see all the stuff up there about me.
You actually handled yourself quite well. I probably would have been shaking, nervous, and stuttering the whole time.
You know, it was interesting the night before. These people that brought us up there had a party.
Dennis had a party.
Here we go.
And so we go to this party, and
that's why he was so tame. He was hungover.
Yeah. And so there was a guy there that sat next to me on the panel when we testified. His name is Scott Pagao, and he is from Alaska, and he brought some fresh salmon.
Wow.
And they had a big cookout at the party, and we were drinking champagne and wine and everything, and after it was getting late, and the lady was putting on the party. I says, "Well, are you going to open some more wine?" They says, "Ambassador, I think it's time for you to go because you got to testify in the morning." I said, "Okay."
Would not have been good if you puked in Senate chambers.
I would have been all over the salmon. Smoked salmon is my downfall.
Oh man, it was really good. Ooh. It was. He brought it fresh in a cooler from Alaska, so no, it was.
I like bagels and lox.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should talk about our gift.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we got to.
Well, me and Mark got some cool shirts from our friend up in Lancaster.
I was jumping up and down for them once I seen them. I was like, holy cow, these are sweet.
Yeah.
And
we'll get a picture later, folks.
Yeah, we got to.
And her name is Carrie Mann, and she's been a real loyal listener. She always comments on our posts on social media. And she's really been spreading the word about us, so we love Carrie. And she sent us these cool Lancaster Redskins shirts.
They're awesome. Once a Redskin, they're always a Redskin.
I've been wearing mine all day, and I just love it.
I'm throwing mine
I'm more
over
of
my
a fan
shirt.
of the Lancaster Redskins than I am the Washington Redskins. You know.
Come on, Dan.
You know who needs one of these? Is our brother Bobby.
Yeah,
Robert. We need to get him one of these. These are awesome. He loves us.
Yeah,
awesome. Bobby Dorr.
Yeah.
He would dig that.
That's awesome.
But,
Thank you so much for this. I really
thank you,
appreciate
Carrie. And that was come from Evolution Apparel, which is Carrie's cousin owns that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
I love it.
we always appreciate everything we get from Lancaster, but these shirts are way
Totally.
cool.
Well, we're
I'm
going
going
to
to support the heck out of it.
We're going to be up there, and when we change that name back, we're all going. All of us are going, and we're going to have a heck of a party.
Oh yeah.
This is our new work shirt, gym shirt, running shirt, going out shirt, everything.
But we're gonna head up to Lancaster later on, talk to Brenda. But right now we have Jeff Nichols, and Jeff Nichols is the president of the Alumni Association of the Henry C. Conrad Schools of Science in Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, good.
And of course, our group of name changers, they haven't really showed their faces yet over there. But this is Lancaster months ago, and we're kind of ahead of the game on this. But now they're talking about dropping Henry C. Conrad's Redskins tribute to Native Americans.
Right.
Again, this is Delaware. This is regionally significant to the Redskins name, where the actual Redskins who painted their skins red came from.
Right.
And here we go again. And they're starting to see the early stages. Jeff, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can. We're on you're here with the ambassador, Danny Q, and Mark the Beast Beasley.
Yes. Hello, Ambassador. Danny Q. Hello. And Beast, I love you, too. I didn't want to be left out of that whole...
That's right. glad to have you on, sir.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Why don't you just tell us, what happened?
Sure. I'll run through a brief scenario. It's easy to do briefly because it has been briefly as far as we're concerned. I'm the president, as you said, of the Alumni Association, and we have the alumni community, PTA, and current student body just kind of was taken back by this announcement in February that they were going to have a meeting. It stemmed out of a diversity committee that they were going to have a meeting, change the mascot, and at the final moment, we had called because we had got wind of it, and then immediately after that, I got an invitation because they were going to include me anyway. They just hadn't gotten around to calling me about it.
Until you called them.
Well, actually, another member of our alumni had called because she had gotten wind of it. Too lousy. And so she called up, and then I got the invitation. And when I showed up, they passed out the minutes from the previous meeting, so they had meetings before, and then there at the top of the agenda was change the mascot, and I immediately said, whoa, I thought this was something about discussing something. I didn't realize that it already had a mission statement, and this is what was happening, because I should probably be next door if there's a meeting where it's save the mascot, because that's probably the meeting I should be in and not necessarily here.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they started talking, and they went on, and it was some seniors, some class members, a few teachers, the principal, and a district representative, and they said, I said, can I bring anybody with me? And they said, yeah, sure, you can bring some alumni. I said, no problem, I'll show up with 1,000. And they said, well, can you keep it to about 2? And
how many did you show up with?
I showed up with myself and 2 others.
Okay, but
then there was 2 parents, so it was a well mixed thing. And I said, I don't think they have any idea what they're doing. I mean, you have to understand this school, and what I find out is you probably do understand it because you're running into it everywhere.
Right.
So,
but has there ever been talk about this? I mean, has it been a problem before this?
Not to us. Obviously, we've seen the national news.
Right.
And about a little bit of what was going on with Washington. And a moment of relief when I realized that there wasn't going to be a change there. So why would I think anybody would harm a small school in Wilmington, Delaware?
That's the key word, small school.
Yeah, you guys are a target. The small schools are easy prey, and they know that.
They can get 30 or 40 people over in front of FedEx Stadium or FedEx Field, but you get 30 or 40 people at a board meeting, and it's a whole different dynamic.
Right.
Well, we actually went. Funny, we actually showed up at the board meeting we found out about this. They presented to the alumni on March 16th, 20th, maybe it was. And we just had the board meeting last Wednesday, and the alumni and supporters of Save the Mascot showed up in school buses. And we all filled the auditorium there, the center section of the auditorium, and every time one of us got up to speak, the whole auditorium would stand in support. So I think we made the point. I was under the impression, until I actually talked to a couple of people with your group and some of the people up at Lancaster, that we were making headway, and it seemed like they were understanding. But then I'm finding out that, maybe that's not the case, because we have been able to. They wanted to make this change effective 4 months after we heard about it.
Right.
Wow.
This is a 75-year tradition.
Yeah, 75.
4 months.
Yeah, see, what they'll do is they'll sneak it up on you quickly.
That's the whole
Jeff,
thing.
I mean, they'll blindside you. And
Yeah, well, they started with 4 months, and we just got them to agree at the board meeting to no change made until the end of school year 2016.
Well, let me tell you,
That's a huge accomplishment.
That is an
awesome.
accomplishment,
Congrats.
but you got to keep an eye on them because that's what they did. Lancaster said that. Oh, they're not going to change the name. No. Everything's good. They're going to hold on. They're going to think about it. And then all of a sudden they had a surprise board meeting on a Monday night, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They changed it, and there was nothing anybody could do about it. So you got to watch these guys. I mean, because the outside interest, and I heard from Danny that the school board received a letter from.
Well, I misspoke when I talked to him about that before we finished that. That was actually a copy of a letter that was on the Twitter account, but it was not addressed to our school.
Right.
Well, there'll be one coming.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be surprised if it even has the same words.
And what
changed the address too?
And what was the letter was from Oneida, right, Dan? This Oneida Inc., right, Dan?
Yeah. They just call it Oneida Nation.
But it's Oneida Nation Inc. It's run by this
Oneida,
phony Ray Halbritter.
Big old corporation.
And the only thing I can tell you, Jeff, to really bring you up to speed if you haven't already, is to go back to our shows because they're archived here at Double Wide. And the first show, it's extremely important. It's called The Premier Show. And my brother, Robert Dorr, who's a member of the Blackfeet Indian Nation in Browning, Montana, is on there. And he talks about what the term Redskins means. And it has nothing to do with bloody scalps and all this BS that they want you to believe. And it's not offending Native Americans as they want you, as they want you to shame you into submission. So if you listen to that show, and then there's several shows, they're all good. But that was
I would
good
say
one.
the last one too with Claudia Tenney, who really we talked more about not just who Halbritter is, but what Halbritter's done to
tell them who
people.
Claudia Tenney is.
Claudia Tenney's a assemblywoman out in state of New York, and she's just she's an advocate for an actual real Oneida member, Melvin Phillips.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Fire. I like that woman.
Yeah,
She's
and then the other show that's really important, Andre Bilodeau, who's listening. Hi, Andre. Is how the Redskins got their name. This guy's a historian. And he's a very credible guy. He lives outside of Washington, D.C. in Virginia. And he wrote a book, How the Redskins Got Their Name. And it's very, very informing, very enlightening. And it tells these simple-minded morons that think to the contrary how idiotic they are. And it's all pro Native American and Native Americans. It's a best-selling book, and you can get the book through us or his website, whatever it is. But that's very enlightening. It's called How the Redskins Got Their Name. That's a very good show.
And Jeff,
well, we get kind of pressed back with the change that happened in Webster. I mean, it just meant a Northern American Indian. I still have I'm 54 years old. I still have my Webster from when I was in school. And
right.
to find it as a Northern American Indian. Do you know when it actually made the change?
It was very recent.
Well, I have my own definition. A Conrad Redskin's a student, past, present, or future, of Henry C. Conrad, Conrad Middle School or Conrad School of Science will emulate the positive traits of our Native American, such as pride, spirit, tradition, and above all, love and honor. So if you have Webster's number, I'd like to give him a call.
Well, that's going to be another topic that we're going to be working on.
We have a direct line to Webster. Kyle, can you bring Webster?
No, seriously, we're going to, we've had some discussions with other people about
There are
that.
some of these, I don't know if it was Webster, but there's some of these dictionaries that are actually somewhat democratic, especially some of these online ones where you can have an effect on what it says. And I wouldn't be surprised if the name changers were somehow involved in, a widespread changing of this. Of course, I'm sure they showed somebody those articles. We talked about this, Jeff, about the scalps and the things like that. And
I don't even understand that. One time they say it's the scalps, then it's just supposed to mean the American Indian, but they use it to, it seems like whoever's trying to make their point uses it to whatever serves themselves better.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've seen them on social media. They come on, there's this whackball radio host out of Buffalo, and he there's people on his site that ask other people in the discussion, "Are you skinned?" Like,
No.
and they're,
Wow.
and yeah, oh yeah, it's insane. And so, there's so many like double standards and BS involved in it, and those articles that they always show from the 1800-ish era where you see like a horrible thing said about American Indians in the article about what the article's about, but when the article uses the term, even though it's not being used correctly, they're simply using it as a synonym for Indian, not
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
active.
Exactly what I meant. Yes.
And it's not correct, because actually it's a term that comes out of your end of the country, and
Yeah, our school was actually built on an Indian camp. I mean, they would go out for like the first elective I took in my school back in 1975, the high school 76 was history. It was an elective, but I took history of American Indians. And they used to take field trips to the woods across the street. You'd find arrowheads. I mean, it's the heritage of where we are. I've gotten responses from Indian groups that said, the logo of our headdress is not found to be offensive, but
Right.
rather appreciate the fact that the organizations and schools that have chosen it as their logo, it
Right.
reflects and keeps our native heritage alive and in the forefront.
Right.
And just so the people who haven't seen it, and I always encourage our audience to go and look it up. You can go look up Henry C. Conrad. I mean, it's a very tame looking Indian head with a beautiful headdress. The same way that Lancaster Redskins looks like a Redskin warrior. These are very, there's nothing cartoonish about it. There's nothing,
Right.
Mark here, who's a fully enrolled member of Navajo, is a big fan of Chief Wahoo. Yeah. But there are some cartoonish aspects to him.
Overstated features on his face and stuff
sure,
like that.
Sure. But in this case, in the case of Lancaster and at Conrad, you have very realistic
Right.
depictions.
Really classy.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
him. I like him a lot.
Just for your information, Jeff, the Washington Redskins logo was designed by Robert Doerr's relatives in Blackfeet, Montana, or Browning, Montana, Blackfeet Indian Nation. They were the ones that designed the logo that's on the Redskins helmet. They were the guys that did it, and it was all presented to them, and they passed it around, and they looked at it.
Walter Blackie Wetzel.
Yeah, and they
was a great leader.
Yeah,
All got the approval on it.
and they all got their approval, and then they went with it, and that's the logo that's on the Redskins shirts and helmets in Washington, D.C. Dan Snyder didn't put it on there.
And there's nothing disgusting about the symbol. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love
It's
it,
a-
man. I'll
it's-
sport the heck out of it.
The Washington Redskins is the likeness of Chief Two Guns white calf.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's a real guy. So if you listen to the first show, Jeff, that'll really open your eyes and tell you what this whole scam's about.
Exactly.
And then try to share that with all the member of the alumni. And then we got your back. I mean, this is your show now.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will listen, and I will stay in touch. You know, I get so frustrated with the talk of racism in every corner, every aspect of everything. I mean, there is no bad race. We just have some bad people in every race.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some actions were taken out.
Racist labeling.
Look, racism is
putting life into it, and it will never diminish.
Right.
Well, part of the problem is people like this making false accusations. Claudia talked about that last week. Is just like there is real bona fide racism, and then these people, just to get everybody to throw up their hands and go to their will, you know, say you're a racist, and it's like I was saying earlier, it's easier to even be called a racist than it actually is to be one, you know, and for people who aren't racist, you don't want to be even associated with that because you're not racist. So you throw up your hands and said, okay, you know, I'm out of this. You know, it's not even that you gave up; it's just that you walked away.
Exactly.
You know,
and they're not even changers; they're more of followers.
Yeah,
so that's right. Follow the changers.
And let's face it, you know, as a white guy who does care about that, who is sensitive to those kind of things, I'm very inclined to be that person who says, look, okay, you know, that offends you, fine. If I believed for a second that any of these people were being genuine, I would be that guy. You know, I'd probably be holding hands with Amanda Blackhorse
and that's me too.
Helping old lady Harjo cross the street with her groceries and
help her sit down, give her a walker.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you cheaper or plastic?
Right. Well, we have a state law here now, Jeff, that says nobody can ban plastic bags.
You guys live in a beautiful. My brother live in a beautiful area. I love it out there, and. You live in, I did want to tell you that I appreciate what you guys are doing. I really do, and I'm sure my entire alumni does. And even the kids in the school, you know, I talk to the kids in the school, and they're adamant. I don't want to change. I don't want to change. And
you know, one thing I wanted to ask about you.
Mother was a Redskin. I want to be a Redskin. The intent here,
sure,
far away from a racial slur as it could
I know.
You know, the native culture embodies the quintessential American experience. I mean, these are the first people that tamed a rugged, dangerous, uninhabited land, and they had very, very intricate societies. They were very social people. They probably even traveled farther than we still know, because there's evidence that they may have even been transcontinental, especially some of the more South American and like islander type tribes over there. So, you know, these were great, honorable people. They had wonderful societies, and inciting that spirit, you know, just kind of keeps them alive in a nation that we have big cities of poor people, like these, you know, ignorant white people, like some of us would never even look at the reservation and see what's going on if by chance I didn't have to contemplate it every week when the Washington Redskins played. And that's millions of fans, or the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's really what, you know, these name change thugs are all being funded by one man, and he's the kind of man that actually benefits from taking them out of the public eye. And there's a lot of people like him. I always say, you know, he's a big casino guy, and he doesn't give crap back to his people. A lot of these casinos do, but, you know, these are rich billionaire type guys that if Halbritter can get away with it, I could probably get away with it too. All we got to do is get them out of the mainstream American eye and make everyone think that they're these strangers up in a place where they're, you know, living in some kind of, you know, desolation, and they're not. They're people just like us. Mark, you're a lot like me, probably better.
No, I say we're equal.
Probably
what a guy.
smarter. smarter anyway. But
I say that we're equal. We actually try to educate and overthrow these changers because I love educating some of the people that don't know the background and the stories about this, rather than hearing the mainstream media try to rage against.
And I really think it's that way with journalists too. That's my background. I went to the Cronkite School of Journalism here at ASU. It's a very good journalism school. And as a journalist, you don't take sides, but you are fighting for social justice. And when somebody says, "Oh, I'm being hurt by this," it's kind of almost like your instinct to go to that side, rather than, like I said, stick your neck out with the truth and get it chopped off.
Listen to the guy that's trying to stand out of the crowd rather than, follow the whole.
It's a slur that there's any hate involved around it. This is such a teaching opportunity.
It is, and that's what I love about the people of Lancaster, because they've learned so much by studying this and really understanding what they're defending. And they always knew that it was about pride and tradition and honor and strength and things like that. And but they really learned finally, just the history that we wouldn't get other than this. And I've said it a million times, again, along the teaching opportunity expression that you just used, Jeff, is, I have been waiting for this to be a springboard for the issues, now that they've got the media's attention, just about, from the local level to their assaults on the Redskins and things like that. Where is the springboard to the real social problems that Native Americans face? Because that's where the racism is. That's where there is racism against Native Americans. There is oppression against Native Americans, and it comes in the form of they suffer these social problems in some places. There's some tribes are better off than others, but they suffer things like unemployment. When we're at 6%, there's places where they're at 50%.
Yeah, Navajo's over 50%.
Yeah, and didn't Robert Doris said that Blackfeet's like 80% or something.
Is that right? Yeah,
something like that.
It's unbelievably high. And then you have alcoholism, you have drug abuse, teen pregnancy,
and these are what we suffer in the cities. But cities have cities have the public eye. All the news stations are based in cities.
Right.
But
well, then why don't we take this as an opportunity where Webster first identified it as a Northern American Indian, then it becomes a racial slur. Why don't we change it around and make Redskins for change and benefit those that are living in poverty?
That's why I wanted you on this show, Jeff, man, because you're really looking for this.
Well, you're in for the long game.
Yeah,
and we are too.
And and we talked a little bit at length yesterday, and I know that you don't want to be, some kind of symbol for this thing. You just want to preserve the spirit of your community. But you're one of those guys that I knew needed to be on this show, because there's so many good things that can come out of this. Like, just so many great things. And I'm glad you said that. Jeff, real quick, I heard you talk to Brenda Christopher, who's been fighting the battle up in Lancaster. What did you learn from talking with her?
Well, I guess what I learned was that I was being a little naive, I guess, in thinking that it was just going to be a little local thing right here, and that, the Tom, Dick, and Harry, Jane, and Sally that live down the street, we're going to have a conversation, it's going to be worked out, and it's all going to be over. We're all going to go skipping down the street in the sunset.
Right.
It sounds like from her that, that's probably not going to happen.
Well, here's the thing, though. You guys are a little bit ahead of the game. You had this special advantage of getting it pushed back. Just take advantage of it. And we've been with Lancaster since we figured out what was going on over there.
Right.
And now we're with Henry C. Conrad. And the folks in your area of Wilmington, we're making connections coast to coast, and just keep us informed. We started adding you to the circles and stuff on social media, and keep us informed. We're behind you 100%. Most of Native America is behind you.
Trust me, they are.
They really are.
This is your show, and tell everybody in Wilmington, including the DuPonts, that this is
we
for
could
you.
Use some billionaires.
Yeah, we can use the DuPonts behind us.
Anyway, Jeff, thank you very much. We got to move on. We have to take a music break. And
for
then
having me. It's a pleasure, gentlemen. And if you get out here for Lancaster celebration party, let me know. I'd like to buy a ticket or whatever it does that gets me in the door.
We're all in.
Hey,
thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And I just want to say the problem with you name changers is
you can't handle the truth.
We'll be right back. Okay, we're back.
Now, you guys couldn't hear that because we have it silenced during the music, but Chief sings that perfectly.
Man,
Yeah,
on point. I was scared.
Oh my gosh, there's some shattered glass over there.
That was the Queen of Rock and Roll, Lisa Fisher, and Tina Turner, and they sung that song in her recent concert. In fact, it was her last concert. Tina Turner lives in Switzerland. And if you want to hear it, you can go to YouTube and listen to it. And it's Tina Turner, Lisa Fisher. So I think with that, we're going to go to our next guest.
Yes, and that's Brenda Christopher, our friend running for school board in Lancaster.
Nah, man, that ain't me. I'm from Buffalo.
And we're sitting here wearing our Lancaster shirts, and we're ready to rock with Brenda. Brenda's got just kind of a rundown of what happened in March during these meetings that were supposed to be such balanced description, or such balance with the opinions on both sides of this issue. Brenda, are you there?
I am. Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
How you
Good,
doing?
Brenda. This is the ambassador. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be back on with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
Brenda, just kind of tell us real quick, is what did you find when you went through the board? I'm guessing it's all public record. And what did you find about the way these meetings were run, running up to the board, voting your tribute to Native Americans in the form of Redskins out of your school, retiring that?
Well, basically, I did a FOIL request, which is the Freedom of Information Law, and they did grant me the information. I went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we all knew that the forum was a complete debacle that night. I mean, at my table alone, it was 7 against 1.
Yeah, and I heard, I heard from you. I heard from, of course, Greg and Keith.
Yeah.
But not only that, but Mark Yancey and Joe Milk. Yeah.
Yeah. We were all at every single table. So what I did was I got the information and I put it in charts and graphs and pictures that are, easy to read and easy to see and all color-coded. And all you have to do is just glance at it to see the huge discrepancy. There was 14 tables set up. Not one of them was 50-50. They weren't even 60-40. So
that's like Fox News fair and balance.
it was just.
They're great supporters of this cause. I can't.
But the bottom line was it was a community forum, and it was supposed to be our opportunity. The Native Americans had 2+ hours of uninterrupted time in front of the board, where the public, the people who pay the taxes here, weren't allowed to speak a word. And we never had that. So we were really looking forward to March 3rd because that's when we told we would have our time, and we didn't.
Right.
So it was very, very, the most interesting statistic that I found was 58% of those allowed in to participate, because it was all pre-registered. You had to register ahead of time online, filling out your attributes like pro-Redskin, anti-Redskin, resident, alumni, and so on. And you checked off like everything that applied to you. And 58% of the people invited to this forum were non-residents. That's
insane.
Isn't it? It's
Brenda,
crazy.
I know we gave most of your time to Jeff and Tina Turner, but
I thought you were going to ask me to sing. Please don't.
Well, next time you're always welcome.
Just real quick, if you could just take 1 minute and the kind of advice that you gave to Jeff, and what would you tell these people who are just now hearing this in their community? Yeah, or just now hearing this in their community, what to expect in a nutshell?
Well, I had a really great conversation with him earlier today, and what to expect. Expect the unexpected, really. We had no clue. We had no clue what we were up for. What's really great is that for them, not so much for us, is that we did go through it, so now we can inform them, and I'm going to be sending him all kinds of stuff, actually, when I get off with you. And, trying to give them a heads up of, okay, this is coming, and when I was listening to his story, it was our exact story to the syllable. And to hear, but we got this. And I said, well, we had that too. And so we're trying to like arm them with what's next so that they can be prepared. We didn't have that. We had a lot of support from everyone, but we didn't have what's next. Watch out for this. Careful of that ahead of time. And they will. So we're hoping that, they'll learn from us and we'll be able to help them and at least.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to put you in contact with him and him in contact with you, because
also
that's what this show's about.
James
absolutely.
from California.
Yeah, he's going to be on next week. Something happened to him, but it's all across the country, and we're going to change him back. So you just hang tough. Real Deal's got your back. And the ambassador.
And we have yours. We have yours.
You have had ours, and we appreciate everything. And I love my new T-shirt. So if you see Carrie in person,
Mark's
please
got
tell her
his too.
Thank you.
Man, I love it.
Yeah.
So
anyway, we should let the name changers know that.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me. You hear?
And also all the board members that Brenda's running against. Brenda, thank you very much for being on. We're just about out of time, but we love you, darling, and I'm glad your whole tooth situation's solved.
Oh my goodness! Thank you for being patient with that.
All right.
Absolutely, and I would love to come back on and
you will. You will.
Anyone else that
you're a great friend of the show. We support you. You have supported us, and we couldn't ask for better friends like you and the people we've met in Lancaster.
I even see your beautiful pictures on Facebook.
You did or you did not?
I did.
Oh boy, my vacation pictures.
Yeah. Did you see me in my limo?
They didn't stay in Vegas. They're all over Facebook.
I need a limo.
Yeah.
All right, Brenda. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much,
gentlemen. You too.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening all across the country, internationally. This show is going viral thanks to you, and we want you to keep listening. And if you if you like us, share it. If you really, really like us, consider being a sponsor. How do they do the sponsor thing, Dan?
They can go to our GoFundMe.com/TheRealDeal, and Lancaster and a few of our other listeners have been very generous.
Yeah, and you can do anonymous or in whatever you got to do, but we're all in for you. So with that, I just wanted to ask Kyle to tell the audience why we're here.
Kicking ass and saving names, Ambassador.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you for listening to The Real Deal. Tune in to The Real Deal with the Ambassador and Danny Q every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and on demand 24/7 right here on the Double Wide Network.